Judge Merchan ruled today that Trump's sentencing will take place on November 26th, 3 weeks after Election Day. I would suggest to you that indication, I don't think Donald Trump will ever be sentenced in this case, because I think Donald Trump will win the election. And is he really going to sentence the president-elect of the United States of America to a term in jail? How does that work? I mean, so you sentence him, he's then remanded into custody briefly, he'll bond out on appeal, and the appeal will not be heard until after he's sworn in as president. And what? Even if you try to, I mean, there are actually some people suggesting that Donald Trump would not have the ability to pardon himself at that point because it's a state charge and not a federal charge. Trump's sentencing was originally scheduled. If you have any thoughts on this, by the way, 615-737-9986. Breaking news, Judge Merchan delayed the sentencing. It was originally scheduled for July. It was pushed back to September. Who predicted this? By the way, I think this merits, well, Bell's on the phone right now. When Bell gets off the phone, we're doing a Murphy was right, because I was right. I remember these things. I'm elephantine. I do not forget. And I told you that there was I think I said 0.0, but I'm not really sure about that. But, Bell, can we cue up the Ride of the Valkyries? Murphy was right about yet another thing. Murphy was right. Murphy was right. I told you. All right, okay. I told you. No sentencing would happen in September. Didn't I say that? I mean, I'm not right a lot, but when I'm right, I'm going to let you know it. That no sentencing would happen in September. Even a judge like Juan Merchan recognizes what would happen if he sentenced Donald Trump to jail in New York City. The naked political aspect of all of this would be laid bare. And you would actually motivate more people to the cause of Trump than whatever political crusade you happen to be on in New York City. Judge Merchan recognizes this, recognizes the box that he's in. There's no good that can come out of it from him. And oh, by the way, Juan Merchan might be a political operative. He might be sullied by politics. He might have allowed the politics of the day to affect his decision-making in that courtroom during that trial. But he is no idiot. He knows what's going to happen to this thing on appeal. It is so full of legal holes. And anyone examining the case with any sense of objectivity recognizes that there's zero chance that any of this leads to a jail term by Donald Trump. None of it. Now, the political operatives on the left can crow about 34 convicted felonies all they want. It does not move the needle. It has not moved the needle. It did not accomplish the goal. The goal was never necessarily to see Trump in a jail cell or an orange suit. If that ever happened, that's a bonus. That's icing. The cake that was being baked was designed to damage him politically, and it backfired on them famously. Trump's sentencing was originally scheduled to take place, as I mentioned, in July, ahead of the Republican National Convention. They pushed it off there back to September 18th, following the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling. The Supreme Court granted a certain level of immunity for Donald Trump and other official actors engaged in official acts and proceedings, which added another layer of, quote, complication to the ongoing criminal proceeding. For those who did not follow the case closely, some of the evidence that Bragg used in court, which Trump's defense team told him not to use, the defense team said, you do this and it's going to kill your case. Whatever case you think you're having here, you introduce this evidence and the entire case is sullied as a result because this is inadmissible in court. Trump's defense team vehemently argued against allowing the prosecution to use some of these official presidential actions as evidence against Donald Trump, but they did it anyway. And Juan Merchan allowed them to do it anyway, which makes the entire case, in my opinion, null and void moving forward. You have to retry the case. You can't extract that information or extract that testimony after a jury has made a decision. The jury should have never heard that testimony. So where does that leave the case? Are y'all following this? I mean, I've watched enough Law and Order to know that once the tree is poisoned, whatever fruit you pull from the tree is equally poisoned. The jury was never supposed to hear certain testimony that they heard in that trial. And Trump's defense team told the judge so, and the judge allowed it to happen anyway. And now all of this, they're getting their comeuppance. The fruit of the poison tree has been bitten by the prosecution themselves. The entire case has to be reheard. All of it. And it will never be reheard because Donald Trump will be president of the United States. Therefore, your entire purpose for bringing the case. Friends, you don't have to be a buddy of Trump's. You don't have to like Trump to use the brain that God gave you. Why were they doing all of this? Why was Democrats don't give a damn about law and order? Y'all, come on, people. Why were they doing this? The same political party that allows rapists and murderers back on the street. The same political party that refuses bail opportunities for violent criminals. They just allow them to walk bailless walking on the streets of New York City and California and other places. The same political party that doesn't believe in the rule of law when it comes to the southern border at all. The same political party that doesn't believe in the rule of law when it comes to voting. The same political party that doesn't believe in the rule of law when it comes to voting rules. And on it goes. This is not the party of law and order. This is the party of mob rule. So don't come at me telling me that they're bringing these cases against Donald Trump because they believe in the sanctity of the law or sanctity of law and order. These are the same folks that told us that Hunter Biden didn't do anything wrong. These are the same people that consistently tell us that Joe Biden had nothing to do with his son's business dealings. I can't even get it out without laughing. Now suddenly they care enough about the rule of law that they're bringing all of these cases. Guys, this isn't about Donald Trump and running for president. This is about saving democracy. You think we're stupid? You think we're stupid? Stop treating me like I'm stupid. It's insulting. Every case brought against Donald Trump in every courtroom was brought for the same reason. To ensure that Donald Trump would never be president of the United States again. Originally, the design was to prevent him from actually running. The belief that the very nature of the charge would be serious enough. You know, the late, great Rush Limbaugh taught me this years and years ago. This is the way that Democrats operate. They don't care about the veracity of the moment. They don't care whether or not something is true. They use the seriousness of the charge in order to accomplish their ultimate goal, which is to destroy human beings and to destroy human lives. So they'll scream from the hilltops about this, that, or the other thing, knowing what they're screaming about isn't so, just to get the attention on the subject that they want. So they feel like if they scream that Donald Trump is a felon long enough and loud enough, that some folks out in the hinterland will actually believe it. And they thought that this would prevent us, those Americans who are supportive of the agenda presented by Donald Trump, they thought that it would prevent us from voting for the man, and it didn't. So they have failed. As Jason puts it on the membersnutrition.com super text line, if we can save one child, democracy was worth it. They know that they have failed. They failed in Florida, they failed in Washington, D.C., and they have now failed in New York. We should be taking a victory lap 3 days in advance of, or 4 days, I should say, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days in advance of what I expect to be a hell of a debate.